Gwenpool is back, more dangerous than ever. Everyone's favorite reality twister's life is changing, becoming darker, grittier, bringing her own brand of hyper-violent justice to a battle-strewn New York City. Who is this dark Gwenpool? And what has she got to do with this spectacular Spider-Man? So yeah, this is the all-new, all-deadly Gwenpool, issue number 1 from Marvel Comics. Usually I would start this video off by saying how I enjoyed the original Gwenpool, how I'm kind of wary about this new change, yada yada yada, but I'll save all that for later. Let's actually just dive right into the issue breakdown. So we start off in Weapon X, where we have some trainees, and they're basically doing a mission. It's a guy and a girl. They're kind of flirting with each other. Eventually the guy's head gets lopped off. The girl turns around, sees another figure, shoots at it, and then it turns out that the figure has healing abilities, zabs the girl, kills her, and it turns out that this is Gwenpool, aka X31. And then they're like, yeah, so did I pass? And this voice says, you passed with flying colors. Now you're an agent and you got a mission. And the mission is that 3 Deathlocks have escaped, and you have to bring them down with extreme prejudice. And so Gwenpool is like, this is my kind of operation. I'm so excited for this. Let's go. This is already like really different from OG Gwenpool. OG Gwenpool, for anyone who's like unfamiliar, basically she comes from a world that's pretty much like ours, where Marvel is nothing but comics. Her name is Gwendolyn Poole, and she's a Marvel super fan. She's a huge fan of the comic books. And one day she finds herself isekai'd into the 616. So she gets transported to the 616, and from there she starts using her knowledge of Marvel Comics and the characters and stuff to kind of warp reality around her. And at first it's kind of just done as like little jokes. It's pretty much like, hey, what if Gwen Stacy was Deadpool and she can break the fourth wall and stuff? And here are the excuses that, well, the fourth wall, she's able to break it because she has all this knowledge of what everybody is, what the world is like in the 616. But then it starts kind of slowly transforming into, what if she actually just has the abilities to warp reality around her? And it kind of gets a little bit more deeper. It's a really good series. I highly recommend checking out the first run of Gwenpool. So that's OG Gwenpool. This Gwenpool is completely different. This is basically just dark Gwenpool. So then we cut to New York, where we have Fang Foom, and he has pretty much destroyed all the Avengers. The only one that's left is Spider-Man, Kate Bishop, and Jeff. I do find it kind of funny how Spider-Man's just completely like destroyed. He's still like up and running, while everyone else like Captain America and Thor are knocked out, but he's all like beaten up, battered, and bruised. Meanwhile, Kate Bishop doesn't have a scratch on her. It's like, girl, did you just show up at like the last minute while the entire city was being destroyed and all the Avengers were being wiped out? Because there's no way that you're the only one that doesn't have a scratch on them. But then that's when OG Gwenpool shows up. And basically we get to see how OG Gwenpool is. She's not the dark, super violent Gwenpool that we saw in the very beginning. Instead, this one is more like geared towards young adults. She's kind of bubbly. She's kind of like Deadpool, basically, only without the violent tendencies. And so Gwenpool goes and rushes to destroy Fang Foom. And I do admit that I kind of chuckled at this moment where she gets stomped. And of course, Kate Bishop is like upset because that's one of her best friends. And Spider-Man is like, there's no way she could have survived unless she stuck to the bottom of his foot. Oh, nope, guess not. And Spider-Man starts freaking out. Like his spider sense is just going off the scales. And Fang Foom is like so happy. We get like a pullback where we get to see Fang Foom and the city being destroyed around him. And then that's when Gwenpool shows up and she's a giant. And I actually kind of thought this part was smart. Like, I think the writer did a pretty cool, interesting take on her gimmick. Where because she can break the fourth wall, what happened was when Fang Foom went to stomp her, she actually slipped in between the white spaces between the panels. So the reason she was able to dodge getting stomped is because she actually slipped out of the panel. And all she did was she waited until we got a panel where the camera pulled back. So we got like a zoomed out perspective of Fang Foom. And then she basically imposed herself onto that panel, which made her giant. I was like, okay, that's pretty smart. Like, I thought that was a pretty cool take on her reality warping ability. So now she's a giant. She's bigger than Fang Foom. And she kicks Fang Foom into orbit, and the city is saved. And then Gwenpool literally leaps out of the panel and jumps back into another panel where she's now regular size. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. Like, I went into this comic very, very, like, just wary, especially reading the first few pages. I was like, oh no, they're not doing this with Gwen, are they? But then we got to see this, and I'm like, okay, this is the Gwenpool that I know and I enjoy. I'm actually a big fan of OG Gwenpool. I have all issues of the first run. It's one of my guilty pleasures. It's actually really well done. So I was like, okay, if this is what we're gonna get, then awesome. But then Jeff runs away, and Gwenpool goes to chase after him, and then Kate goes to chase after them. And Spider-Man's just kind of like freaking out. He's like, something's wrong, the danger hasn't passed. And then that's when there's like a whole tonal shift. It starts raining, people are fighting each other. Eventually, Kate Bishop hears something going on in an alleyway, and she goes and she sees Gwenpool fighting against 3 Deathhawks. And even Gwen realizes, like, haven't you noticed that everything has gone Frank Miller? And of course, Kate Bishop has no idea what that means. And Gwenpool explains the tonal shift, the level of violence. I don't think we're in a T+ anymore. Something has happened. Like, the world's changing around them. And I'm going to be skipping a bunch of pages, but basically, things get just really more amped up to the point where Spider-Man actually gets shot, and like the bullet like actually goes through his arm, and there's like blood squirting out. And Gwenpool's like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you got shot. You never get shot in my book. You're the Amazing Spider-Man. Something's wrong. And then that's when all the Deathlocks get killed. And then we see the X-31, the Gwenpool that we saw in the beginning. And she shows up. So now we realize that there's actually 2 Gwenpools. And of course, OG Gwenpool's like, what's going on? Like, what is Marvel doing now? Are they doing like a dark Gwenpool? Like, are they basically doing a 90s cash grab Gwen Force kind of bullshit? And then that's when it turns out that this Gwenpool is Gwen Stacy. And that's the issue. So my thoughts on this is, I think, one, the fake out would have been better if you didn't show Gwenpool being violent and dark in the first 3 pages. I think you start off with OG Gwenpool and you don't show dark Gwenpool until the alleyway scene. Second, I think you should have had 2 artists on this. You should have had one artist do the first half where we have the OG Gwenpool and everything is a little bit more colory, a little bit more whimsical. Basically try to capture that look from the original run. And then once we get the tonal shift, that's when you change artists and you grab an artist that draws like more realistic, less stylized, and then you have a colorist who does everything a little bit more dark, a little bit more gritty. So the tonal shift happens not just with like, oh, it's raining and things are a little bit more violent, but even the art changes to go with it. I think that would have been like a better thing to do. So not only do you have the tonal shift and just the rain, but the visuals as well. So I think, you could have been better off like that. And then, like I said, I think it would have been better if you saved the reveal for later rather than showing Violent Gwenpool in the beginning. Because now we're like, okay, so we're already going to be expecting this Violent Gwenpool to show up. Whereas if you just had OG Gwenpool from the beginning, then the Violent Gwenpool showing up later on would be like a nice twist. Because it's like, okay, why is there 2 Gwenpools? What's going on? As for where it seems like this issue's going, I really don't know how to feel about it. I like OG Gwenpool. I like the fact that she's here and they didn't just completely change up Gwenpool's personality. Like, the new darker, grittier Gwenpool is a completely different Gwenpool. I like the fact that OG Gwenpool is still Gwendolyn Poole, while this new Gwenpool is actually Gwen Stacy. I'm wondering is this supposed to be 616 Gwen Stacy? Is this a clone of Gwen Stacy? Because, I mean, they are called X-31, so I would assume that they're a clone. Kind of like Laura is a clone of Wolverine. I guess we'll find out. I'm not really the biggest fan of this new change. Like the whole dark and gritty aspect, which is kind of funny because I kind of like, dark, gritty, violent comics. Like, my favorite era of comic books is the 90s. When we had like Top Cow, we had Image, we had Chaos Comics. We had comics that were like more sexualized, more darker, more grittier, more edgy. I kind of like those. But I will say that I'm not a big fan of them changing the more like whimsical, fourth wall breaking Gwenpool to violent, edgy Gwenpool. So I do like the fact that there's 2 characters, and one is still the OG and the other one is the dark and gritty. But I'm kind of hoping that this is a fake out. in the sense that OG Gwenpool is still going to be the main lead, and that Marvel is setting it up to make it look like dark, edgy Gwenpool is going to be taking over. But then the fake out is going to be that nope, this is actually going to be OG Gwendolyn Pool's story. And what they can do is they can actually make this series be a commentary on current day media, where we have a lot of series and franchises and characters being rebooted and remade with the darker aspect to them. We see things where like they're taking like original children's stuff and edging it up. I mean, I literally just did a video last week where we had a comic book on Captain Planet, where we basically, what if we took Captain Planet but put him in a modern day setting and made it a little bit more edgier and grittier. So we're seeing that a lot in like comic books, in movies, TV shows, cartoons, where they're taking like old beloved franchises geared towards kids, and then they're kind of like remaking it for adults. Like that crappy Velma series, for example, where they took Scooby-Doo and made it for adults. So this can be like a commentary on that, where we have this new Gwenpool. She is basically a darker, grittier, edgy, violent, maybe even making her a little bit more sexualized version of OG Gwenpool. And slowly she starts becoming the villain. You can have it like where people are kind of like interested in her at first, but then eventually she starts losing public trust and things like that. Like people start turning against her, which can be a commentary on how like fans start turning against like these new remakes and reboots because they completely change what fans enjoyed in the beginning in the first place. So you can do something like that, and then you can have OG Gwenpool. Basically, she can start off like kind of put on the sideline, and then she starts realizing, hey, this Gwenpool is actually killing my franchise. Like, people don't turn into Gwenpool because of this. This isn't what they want. They want me. They want OG. They want the whimsical kind of dramedy where there's some drama aspect, but it's also pretty lighthearted and fun. That's what they want. And you can have a whole like message at the end where OG Gwenpool can kind of be like, you know what? Not everything needs to reflect modern day world and modern day sensibilities. We don't need more nihilism. What we need is we need some optimism. We need hope. That's something that we've not seen in comics in a long time, where characters are no longer like hopeful. They're no longer whimsical. Now everything has to be grounded in reality. Everything has to have a realistic, dark, gritty twist to it. But that's not what made these characters popular in the first place. What made them popular was the escapism, was the fantasy aspect, was that they aren't what we have in the real world, but they're who we should be striving towards. We don't need to have characters who are suffering from depression, alcoholism, things where it's like, oh, we're going to take this beloved hero and we're going to age them up and we're going to just put them at their absolute worst, the bottom of the bottom. Like we saw that, for example, with Indiana Jones, where Indiana Jones went from this like adventurer guy to a divorced alcoholic who like his best years have gone by. It's like, that's not what people want to see. They want to see Indiana Jones out there finding treasure, fighting Nazis, saving the day. And so that can be what the series is. It's a commentary on that, on how like we start off a little bit more like whimsical like we did in this issue, and then we'll have Gwen Stacy Gwenpool slowly start taking over. And as she slowly starts taking over, the world starts becoming darker and edgier and grittier and more violent and more mature. And then the OG Gwenpool is like, this is all wrong. Everything is becoming worse because of her, because the world has to reflect her. So because she's more darker and grittier and violent, the world around her is now more darker, grittier, and violent. And that's not what we need. And so in the end, Gwenpool, OG Gwenpool, ends up taking over the reins again. And basically, it can be like a message about what we need now is we need more escapism. We need more hope. We need more heroes that we can strive for. Not heroes that are like us, but heroes that are better than us. So I think if this series does something like that, it can be pretty awesome, as long as if they nail it. But if this just becomes What If Gwenpool but darker and grittier, I don't know. I'm not really feeling that. So right now, I'm a bit wary. I'm not going to fully judge what I'm seeing because I need to see the next couple issues to see where they're taking this. But if they do what I'm saying they should do, then I think, okay, well, this can be a pretty fun ride. But if they're just, no, we're just going to make Gwenpool darker and grittier and just actually embrace that. And this isn't going to be like a commentary on modern day remakes and reboots or anything like that. It's just going to be because we want to do something different. Then they'll probably end up losing me. But those are my thoughts. I don't know. You tell me what you think. What are your first impressions on this this issue? Even if you didn't read it, I kind of explained everything that happened. So what do you think about that? What do you think about my idea? Do you think it's good, bad? I kind of wanted to hear your thoughts. But there you go. There's the all-new, all-daily Gwenpool, issue number 1 from Marvel. Hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you next time. Take care. Later. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I still want to thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next one is more to your liking. With that said, thank you once again, and I hope you guys and gals have a good one. Later.